Um, we have the outline here, but the school committee had asked us to read that letter they sent out. And I think all of them have already read it, but for other members, I'll read it.
Well, excuse me, what letter are you referring to?
I've received no documentation prior to this meeting of anything.
Yeah, what's
we're
going on
referring
here?
to in the meeting. So I'm not really clear how I was supposed to be prepared for this. I received an agenda.
I think all select members got the letter, but they're
No,
not.
that's fine. We did. I just, there's like nothing else I've received. So if this is where we're starting, are we jumping the agenda? Like how, I'm confused.
We shouldn't be jumping the agenda. If somebody receives something from the school committee about reading a letter, I'd like to understand what that is, because I have not received anything, nor has our town administrator received anything. So Jay, what is this letter that you're referring to?
It's a letter from the school committee
Concerning what?
concerning not being here tonight.
Well, that's very interesting that none of us have received that particular letter.
Can we follow the agenda and maybe read it at the end?
Well, if nobody from the school
I
district's
hear.
here, I don't know how we're gonna.
I know how I'm going to present. I'm ready. I got 2 agenda items. I'm ready to go.
No, I think honestly, if the district is not being represented here, and if the school committee has chosen not to participate, that's their choice. But we have some agenda items that we were going to discuss. If we still need requirements from them to get answers, that's fine, but I think we should still go through it. I think it's actually reprehensible that we're finding out now, and none of the 3 town administrators that I know have received anything relative to knowing whether or not the school committee and the district are going to participate. It was anticipated that they were all going to participate in this meeting. And I think it's bad faith on them to do it this way. But I think we should proceed. And if we still need answers and requirements from them, then we'll note that and move forward. I think it just reflects very badly on them that they've taken this route to do this.
Can I just clarify that I'm Ellen Sturgis from Stowe Board of Selectmen. A letter was received by our office that was copied to all 3 administrators of the selectmen from each town. So the names are Maureen Trumpio, who is Stowe, Jenny Jacobson, and Kathleen Rocco. This arrived on Friday, the 13th. And I know our town administrator who's on the call actually did see it. So
Yep. Right. We've received that letter. My point was we were starting on an agenda with information that I have not received. So I am just, that's all I'm saying. I don't have the information. I know you're presenting, Jason, but like the first 2 things, it would have been nice to have some kind of anything to look at.
Sure. I think it will. I don't really have material to send out. So I mean, we can go over it. I would love your feedback after. And if it is something you feel that I should have sent out ahead of time, I get it. But I was planning to actually review things that are publicly available. It's nothing, I have my presentation.
Gotcha.
It's more of a discussion. And if this chooses not to be here, I'm with Stan on that.
That's fine. If we don't want to hear the letter, that's great. Go to the.
Well, actually, if this letter is stating why the school committee is not participating, I don't have an objection to hearing it now.
Well, I think we will never get back on the agenda if we don't just start on the agenda and go through.
That's
it.
fine.
I would be happy to add this as new business at the end of
That's fine.
all the agenda items.
That's fine. That works for me.
Yep.
Jason, I've made you a co-host so you can share the screen.
Let's see here. Let's see
So I
if this
guess we'll go with the agenda. Article 1 is Jason.
All right, you guys able to see my screen okay?
Yep.
Tabs. So what I want to talk about is this. So I still lost my tabs. Great. All right, so this was an email that was sent out from Neshoba Regional High School from the principal. All parents received this. Is it on October 23rd? And this is what I wanted to talk about. And this is an open discussion. I keep hearing some beeping in the back. This is an open discussion for all of the select board members. I just want to go through my material. It's unfortunate that the school committee is not here. Can someone tell me what that beeping is?
I'm not hearing anything, Jason.
All right, I'm hearing a bunch of beeping. All right, so
It's people coming into the meeting.
all right. So in this letter from the principal was a survey, and I think it was what we talked about at last Tri-Town meeting, and you can see a bunch of data in here. And if you click on that link, it will bring you up to this picture, which is really nice. And I mean, this is good data. This is positive. And, you know, hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to look at this, that received the email, but I'm kind of putting it out here right now. I originally wanted to meet with a principal about this. I reached out to him on the 8th, and he got back to me, I think on Tuesday of last week, said he wasn't able to meet. And I just actually heard from him this morning. Obviously not an opportunity for me to meet, but I did not get an opportunity to present to him the questions I wanted to ask, nor the analysis that I did. I didn't want to, you know, put it in front of everybody before he had an opportunity to go through it. And I had some questions about the data in general. So hopefully everyone can see my screen, but this is what I put together as a little bit of an analysis on that data. I'm not asking anybody to consume this right now, but I want to talk a little bit about the survey. I want to talk a little bit about the results and whether or not, you know, whether or not we believe as a town, as a tri-town, that we want to take different action. So the first question that I had was, you know, were all of these the questions that were asked? So there were 5 questions on the survey. Were those the total amount of questions? A school committee's not here, they can't answer that. And I'm assuming no one from the district is here either. The next question is, they chose a 5-point survey. So for those on the call here, you know, the problem with the 5-point survey is we have this neutral. Neutral is indifferent. And what that means is it's neither good nor bad. And that's where the vast majority of the results come in. And what's unfortunate about that is when you ask yourself, well, you know, am I satisfied with you know, with whatever the question is? If you write neutral, it means you're not satisfied. It means you don't agree. You know, it means that, you know, that I'm kind of ambivalent to the situation. So I wanted to ask the schools why they chose a 5-point. Be much better to have either a 4-point or a 2-point, which is basically, do you agree or not agree? I think that makes things a lot easier trying to look at the results. And the last question that I had for the school was for question number 1 here. So how would you rate your overall experience with remote learning? I'd like to understand why the school chose to group parents and students' results in that single aggregate. So basically, we don't get to see how the students as a group or the parents as a group rated their experience, and why that's important. If all of the parents are saying that the experience is horrible and all of the students are saying it's great, that's good information, as well as if it's vice versa, that's valuable also. So my ask of the school committee.
Rob,
Hello?
I'm hanging in there. What's up?
Thank you. So, you know, if we could get that data separated, I think going through the survey would be helpful. So those were my questions to the school district, to the school committee. I didn't get an opportunity to meet with anybody, and I'm disappointed in that. But what I want to bring to Tri-Town here, and obviously maybe I should have sent this out. I made an assumption that people were going over the surveys. That's my bad. But basically my question to the group here is, are we satisfied with these results? What do we like about them? What do we not like about them? And what I'll open with here is, if you look at question number 1, and if you bucket it based on, whether we don't agree and agree, right? Unfortunately, on a 5-point, people who are neutral do not agree. For question number 1, what I see when I analyze this data is just about 40% of respondents agree that they're having a good experience in the current learning environment, and 60% are not having a good experience in their environment. So that's what I see. I realize that some folks may, feel like they're having this dumped on them now in the Tri-Town. I apologize for that, but I want to open it up to see, what other people thought of the survey, and whether or not if they have any feedback on it in general.
So I'm going to speak, if it's okay with you, Jason. I appreciate that you put together this. I will reiterate my point from last meeting. I do not feel like the select board needs to be making decisions for the administration and the school committee. It is not in our purview. You can have feelings about it. I believe that it's important for me to be a liaison between the school committee and the select board, which is what I am in our town. I'm the liaison between the school committee and the select board. But coming in here and having a meeting, like, I don't know what we think we're going to do at the end of this meeting tonight. That's my question to the group, because if the end of it is just, we're going to pile on the school committee and the administration, then I don't really think that my board wants to be a part of this.
Sure.
I've talked to them, and that's where we're at. I don't want to sit through a pile on. It's not productive. It's 100% not productive.
I completely understand.
That's my 2 cents. I don't necessarily agree with how you have looked at the data. Would have really appreciated some more time ahead of time to look at it myself. I did look at it, have done a lot of data analysis. I don't have the same read that you do. So that's sort of where I'm at. And as we move forward through this agenda, I'll sit here. I noticed that I'm 9th on the agenda, so I will sit and wait for my turn. But I feel very strongly that this is not our purview.
Can I ask what you said, that your take on the survey was not mine? Can I ask what the take was?
I felt like it was a much more positive survey than you are putting the spin on. Quite frankly, I felt like, and the letters that I've received from parents in Bolton and in Stowe have been talking about the model being a good model for now. Our COVID cases are spiking. I think to have a conversation about sending our kids back to school right now is asinine. And I don't want to be having it.
I'd like to interrupt there because I want to go on the record that I'm asking questions. I'm just asking questions. I'm asking questions of whether me as a selectman and others, if we're satisfied with the approach that's being taken, not with hybrid versus remote, but with the survey, with how we're asking questions, how we're getting those results, and how we're analyzing the results. I am not the Board of Health, and I don't pretend to be the Board of Health. I'm not interested in making a decision on whether kids are in school or not. So I apologize if I've given anybody that purview. I'm not here to take sides. I'm here to ask questions and to analyze. That's what I'm trying to do.
You're also not an elected member of the school committee, Jason. Like, I understand that you're feeling, you and some of the other select members on this call are feeling like you're not having the communication with your school committees. I don't have that problem. I'm in constant communication with them. And so it seems to me that there's a bigger communication breakdown that needs to be looked at. But we don't have that issue in Stowe right now with our school committee.
Okay, so but I'm sure that you can appreciate maybe my perspective then, where some of that is happening. I'm not going to kind of categorize it like that, but I'm not coming here with an agenda to change anything. I'm coming here with an agenda to learn, right? That's why I spent the time to go through this, and it, you know, I apologize for, you know, it wasn't a spin. It's really trying to understand the data, because, you know, that's what I want to do. And I think the lesson that I'm taking away from this is what I should have done, is I should have sent this out ahead of time. I should have postponed this conversation until I had an opportunity to meet with the school district. I thought I, you know, did my due diligence there. But maybe this isn't the you know, maybe the appetite for the Tri-Town is not for this type of analysis.
Well, Megan, I'm going to chime in because, you know, I keep hearing that you don't think this is in your purview or the select board's purview. But from my perspective and my town's perspective, the school committee and the district is failing the parents on multiple levels. Let's not even, I mean, it's just not whether it's hybrid or remote at the high school. It's all kinds of things. It's special education. It's the litigation that's going on. They are failing us at every level. And the school committee is not doing a damn thing. And the
Right, so-
district isn't doing a damn thing. It's evident that they're not even here tonight. They're not even here tonight. None of them. So I feel it's our responsibility to take this up and to figure out what's going on and to try to right the ship. So I am absolutely opposed to your position that it's not your responsibility. I
That's
think
great.
it's our
Can we not debate
responsibility.
that? Can we not debate the responsibility portion? If we want to pass on a discussion on this topic, I'll go to my next topic, but I don't want to have everyone waiting around so we can debate that. So
That's fine.
Well, but
Does
I
anybody
think
else
that,
want to comment on this specific analysis, or I'm just happy to move on to my next one?
but that's key to what the whole Tri-Town meeting is for. And I've got to say, I'm in Megan's camp. I don't disagree with much of what Stan's evaluation is. I don't disagree with that. But I was not elected to manage the school district. And I don't think any of the selectmen were. Now, I got involved at the last Tri-Town because I had a number of constituents come and say, I need help. And the Tri-Town is the right venue to do that. But it's the school committee's job to run the school district, not the selectmen.
So,
But Bob, if you recall,
if I may, Stan,
excuse
quick.
me, in 2003, the Tri-Town meeting was established because there were significant problems within the district. And the three towns needed to band together to right the wrongs that were going on within the school district at the time. And if you recall, the school district went into receivership for 2 years. So the Tri-Town meeting was initially formed because there was a crisis in the district. And quite frankly, I think we're right back where we were 17 years ago. So I
Okay,
think
but
it's very
if you,
Is there
if
any
you have
chance
an
that other
issue that
people could
needs to be
actually speak
addressed,
during this conversation? I mean, you guys, if you're gonna just talk to each other, you could have another meeting, but this is very disrespectful. Stan, I expect you to let everybody have a chance to speak instead of thinking that you're the only one on the call.
You're more than welcome to speak.
So I will say that the Tri-Town was particularly effective around the financial situation of that era is nothing like what we're at today first. So let's not make up stories, okay? We were in deep, dark days, but this is not what the problem is today. We're going through a national pandemic causing other issues. It's got nothing to do with the finances of the district. So let's just leave that for a second, okay? The Tri-Town used to be a way for the town and the district to talk pre-town meetings. So we were all getting on the same page. What are the restrictions of the towns? There was the days when Lancaster was going to go bankrupt if the district kept on asking for more money. We sat together, we tried to work those things out so that we didn't have a free-for-all at town meeting. I think we should be showing a little more respect for the work of the school committee. It's not our purview is the Tri-Town. We have no authority collectively in this group. We're here to talk among each other, among the town leaderships, to make sure we're on the same page. It's not about telling the school committee what to do, whether there's, if you don't like their survey, talk to your school committee reps, go to the school committee. This isn't the place to talk about criticizing work that they're doing. It's just not our job.
So
I mean, I would back up Ellen and say, if there's a specific issue that we should discuss, but there's no specific issue that is being brought to the Tri-Town.
So I just like to say that, you know, I've really tried to do my due diligence here. So I've met with the school committee chair twice since last town meeting. I was directed by the school committee chair to reach out to the school, and I did that in an effort to get those questions answered, and I didn't get those questions answered. I also was directed to read through all of the documentation on the website to understand how all this worked, and I did that. I spent the time and I invested in that. And the problem we're having here is they do a really good job of describing the communication channels up to the superintendent, right? You go from your student up to the superintendent, but there's no escalation path off the superintendent. So what happens when parents are upset at the superintendent? There is no escalation path to school committee. It goes to their elected people. So that's why I'm here. But I want to make sure everyone is clear that I'm doing me personally, I am doing due diligence to understand the situation, to try to present data, not opinions, and discuss them. That is my objective. And I understand if people aren't down with that, if that's not if that's not of interest to them, but that's what I'm trying to do here. And in this one and the next one, it is not a pile on. I've tried to give everyone an opportunity to participate. And unfortunately that hasn't happened. All right, does anyone want to add anything from an analysis standpoint?
Well, I'd like to agree with Ellen. I feel I have no expertise in schools or what they do. I think we do have a financial part to play, but I think the educational part, if you don't like what you're getting, change the committee.
Exactly. This is why we have elections. If you don't like what your school committee is doing, then vote someone else in. But for better or for worse, this is the committee that we have right now that has been duly elected to do the job that they need to do. And we need to support that.
So I agree. I believe this is a forum to discuss how things are going on an open meeting type environment. It's the only opportunity that I have to have these conversations. So that's how I'm trying to leverage this situation.
But the school committee is the one who supervises the superintendent. So if you have concerns about the superintendent, they have to go through the school committee. That's who hires that person. We don't have that authority. There's nothing in the charter for the district that says selectmen can oust the superintendent or even, you know, call her on the carpet. It's just not our job.
So I completely agree. And I'm trying to have those conversations, and the school committee is not here. And I've not been able to meet with the schools following the school committee's direction. And that's my.
But it doesn't mean that you bring it here. I mean, I appreciate your frustration, and there actually are a couple of school committee members on the call, but I would say it's still not the place to bring it here because, you know.
But you guys are my teammates. This is the place to have a conversation with my teammates. We're in this together. Where's the other place where I get to talk to you guys about this in an open meeting?
Exactly.
All right, so let's move on. Going once, twice. Anyone want to talk about one? Because I think two. I'm going to try to go quick, and if there's no conversation, I'm okay with that too. But there's also residents of Lancaster that are on this call, and I want them to be aware of what I'm trying to do on their behalf, and what's happening. And there are residents of Tri-Town also who are on this call that I'm not directly speaking to, but we're all in this together. All right, so jump into the next item. Last Tri-Town meeting was about 1 month ago, and I asked on that meeting the superintendent for the deltas of budget versus operational costs for the school district. so I could better understand how Neshoba Regional School District was spending money during COVID. This includes CARES money. This includes the additional $200 per student, the renegotiated bus contract, the reduced use of the high school, etc. Specifically, how was this money spent and what were the deltas on budgeted spend for the kids in school versus the kids not fully in school? I asked for data on the end of last school year as well as the current school year. On November 5th, I reiterated this request for the financial documentation to the school committee chair. As of today, November 17th, over 1 month ago, it's been over a month, I've not been provided this information. As a matter of fact, I've not been provided any information. In addition, I've also just been informed, as we all just heard, that the school committee is not planning on attending any tri-town meetings until their specific meeting protocols have been put into place. So to Lancaster, without this financial data, I cannot do my job. My job includes monitoring the fiscal performance of our town. I have zero data from a Neshoba Regional School District to monitor. And to the residents of Tri-Town, I'm worried about this situation. I believe you should be worried too. As a selectman, we are asked to vote on our town's budget. It's not reasonable to ask a selectman to vote on a budget where there's zero transparency on such a significant portion of spending. In Lancaster's case, the portion for schools is 65%. This cannot be understated. For each $100, 65 of that goes to schools. So this is a topic I'm asking each of you to care about. Thank you. Does anybody have
No,
any?
I would reiterate the request to get more information out of the school district. They're historically been very poor in conveying anything. In Bolton, in the past couple of years, you know, every year you get a little more in taxes. The amount that we're sending to the school district exceeds the total increase in taxes that we've been getting for the past 3 years. So this is a problem.
So as a group, do we believe that monitoring the financial performance of the school is in our purview?
Absolutely. And I would say that I know that we have requested that information as well, and we don't have it. And I think, yes, financially, we do have a stake in there, and we need to just make sure that, I don't know, that that the taxpayers' money is spent correctly.
So you made a point earlier that we have no recourse. The school committee does not report to us by state law. So what do we do? How do we manage this unfortunate situation? What can we do to influence a positive outcome? How can we work together?
I'm sorry, about the budget?
Getting the data. How do
I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think our town administrator has been reaching out as well to get that information, as she is, is obviously a very important figure in developing our budget as well. And so, yeah, I do agree on this point. I feel a little stuck, but I don't know that, again, we're the ones to be digging for that information.
Well, no, we absolutely do need to be digging for that information because it's the selectmen's, the budget is a responsibility of the selectmen.
Gotcha.
And
Right.
in Lancaster, it's 65%. It's in Bolton, it's 63% of everybody's tax dollar goes to the schools. It is absolutely our responsibility to get that information.
Sorry. So one thing, the school committee is going to be presenting the updated to the actual budget tomorrow night at their meeting. Just so that we are all in understanding.
How did you learn that?
One of our school committee members told me, and I just got an email, so.
Oh, just now. Oh,
So they're watching, but not participating.
No, sorry, I just checked my email just now and it was there.
Well, I think we are entitled to that information as much as any citizen. We are not in the situation of telling them how to spend their money or what their priorities should be or anything like that. We're asking for results, not, right? And as individual citizens. Now, to take a big step here and to jump over a lot of intermediate steps, we could collectively authorize our town administrators to file a Freedom of Information request. If it comes to that. But I think we have to be we have to be in lockstep about exactly what information we are asking for. We can't just tell them to do a core dump on everything they've got. But if there's specific information that we want, we could coordinate that through the town administrators and have them collectively request that information.
Bob, Orlando here. One of the things that I spoken to Brooke late last week about reinstituting the Monday meetings that she had with Dawn and I and Bill Wrigley. And my goal is, one, to incorporate Denise more into that flow, because she's coming into her role in Stowe at an awkward time for any new administrator, never mind all the other items going on. But two, it was the one place where we could have a kind of a free flow discussion about how things were impacting each town. And I like to think the three of us collectively can influence the budget submittal in a way where there is some appreciation for how it impacts all three towns. I hope Brooke didn't seem to intimate to me that she wasn't going to try to kick that back up. Whether we do it remotely or in person, doesn't really, I'm agnostic as to how we meet, but I think especially going into this budget cycle, it's important that we have the four of us and whoever else from the district she'd like to have involved, just be there, and we continue to have an open dialogue about budget submittals, where we think we need those budget submittals to be in order to effectively provide services to students, but services to residents as well.
Okay, well, I certainly hope that meeting, I'll give it to you in a moment, Don, that meeting gets started. But I want to emphasize here that we're not that the conversation up to now has not been about future expenses and budget. It's been about past performance versus the budget. That's the information that Jason was looking for. That's the information I think we should be pursuing. That's the information that the school district has always been reluctant to give out. Thank you.
This is Don Lowe. Just to follow up on what Orlando said, I had a conversation with Denise this morning, and I know that 3 TAs are going to be working on organizing something with Brooke to resume our monthly meetings. And those meetings pretty much contain, we cover pretty much whatever we need to cover. It's as Orlando said, it's a free flowing meeting. It's a forum for us to have, to drill deep in some areas. And I do agree that it's important for the upcoming budget, but also if there's anything we can do collectively to help facilitate getting some information, I'm sure we're all three happy to do that. So I think we'll get out of it we'll attempt to get out of it whatever we need to get out of it.
Well, and I think we can be vigilant about getting the data that we feel we need in order to best advise our boards and best advise our residents on town meeting floor if we need to. But it's again, I'm very clear as to what the role is, which is we can make suggestions, we can give guidance, and I think it's helpful getting it from us. But at the end, whatever that bottom line number is going to be, it is going to be the school committee's responsibility to get that number. And so the dialogue has to be cooperative.
But I would agree that, I appreciate, and it's great progress that the administrators meet with the superintendent, but I think the select boards, the finance committee / advisories really should have access to this. Shouldn't be an issue. I totally agree with Jason. This should not be an issue. that we have any reluctance by the district to share numbers with us. I mean, because this is, to me, one area, it is our job, you know, the financial responsibility of the budget. You know, it's short-sighted on the school committee if they think we're going to be, you know, supporting a budget when we haven't been able to get any information throughout the year. I mean, we have to take it to town meeting. We have to have confidence in those numbers. So it shouldn't just be, I don't think it should just be the administrators that are having this discussion. That is, from my last time being on a select board, you know, over a decade ago, that's why we had Tri-Town. So we could, the superintendent walked us through numbers and we could ask those hard questions face to face and get an answer. I mean, because I would admit that, and I also was on school committee at one point, not everybody on the school committee understands those numbers. I mean, they're not all finance people. So we really do need to talk to the leadership of the district to get a good picture of that.
Okay, so it sounds like everyone is in reasonable agreement that reviewing the numbers is in our purview. It's something we would like to do. So I guess there are some folks on the school committee on the call, but you know, if we can just convey that message out, I think there's still time. But we need to be able to feel comfortable, as you know, as Ellen stated, in those numbers, because you know those votes are meaningful. They're really important. There are no rubber stamps. So I think we'd all like the opportunity to review the numbers. Does anyone have anything else they would like to add on topic number 2? Awesome.
Well, Bob made a specific request, and I just wonder if that's something the selectmen feel comfortable voting on.
Yeah, I was following up on
Voting to have the
Jason's
time.
request, but you know, as we sit here, I don't know the specific information that we're looking for.
So what I'm looking for is basically the operational deltas, right? So there was a budget and what was actually spent and what was it spent on. We know there's pluses and minuses. I'm not here to criticize the pluses and minuses. I just want to review them. Also want to understand the CARES Act money, you know, the $200 per student,
So,
the renegotiated school bus contract. The superintendent on last call, you know, made a comment that teachers' sick days were up, and I asked for year-over-year sick day information. So let's all put that on the table and figure it out. And
All right,
and
well,
have that
what do
discussion.
we want first? Because we can't go in there with a shopping list.
That's exactly what I have as a shopping list, and I'll take anything right now.
Okay, what level of detail do you want on the performance, current year to prior year? Or current year to actual?
I have 0 today. I'd like a start. And the quickest we can get to reviewing something is valuable. So whatever's the quickest.
All right, so I will make a motion that the selectmen of the 3 towns request the school district to send us current year budget to actual data through the end of October.
So what I don't like about that motion is that it is very discrete and you are asking for a single thing. So I would like it all. I think that's reasonable. I don't want to ask for one thing when I think I need it all. I know that kind of defeats your motion. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to ask for one thing.
I do. It's just having kicked around a little bit, I think it's tougher to turn down one thing than it is to turn down 12 things.
Actually, Bob, if there is a specific list of things that the select boards would like, then that's what we should be able to get. And I think trying to figure that out in this meeting may not necessarily be the best venue to do that. I would
Should
say,
we
you know,
give that to the
I
town
would ask
administrators?
maybe Jason could circulate something to the other two select boards on what it is he would like to see. Because I would like to see more than less, and I don't think we should just quickly figure out and vote on something tonight.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I withdraw the motion.
We should be able to get anything we need relative to financial information from the district, because ultimately it's our budget that's going back to them. And as I said earlier, you know, Bolton's doing 63% of its tax revenue is going to the district. we should actually absolutely know exactly what the hell we're paying for.
Yes.
So let's not do this real quick. Let's
So thank you, Stan. I
get
will,
suggestion from Jason and then we can vote. We can vote at our next meeting, or well, not our next meeting because it's too late now to put on the agenda, but maybe the meeting after, and have a discussion about that.
Can I just say, I just went looking on the school district website, and for their meeting tomorrow, actually, it has the October 20 results of operations posted.
I put it in the chat as well. There is a link to it in the chat.
Well, we should look at that and
I
see
don't
if
think
that
it's,
satisfies our request.
Right,
And if
and-
not, let's move on.
yeah, I've
Right.
cursory looked at it. I don't think it does, but I think what you guys have said is good. I'll convey my list to Orlando, and he'll, distribute it appropriately, and any feedback you guys have will be great.
All right, thank you.
So thank you to everybody for my 2 items. Definitely got some good feedback here on making sure whatever materials I present, I'll get out ahead of time, message received, and I think I got some feedback also on, purview and different perspectives on that. So appreciate all the feedback there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is Brian on the meeting?
Yep, I'm here.
Jay, you're muted.
Yep, no, Brian's next.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Boyle. I'm a member of the advisory committee in the town of Bolton, and I have a quick item that I'd added to the agenda. This is sort of looking ahead because I know that the building committee is coming together and things are getting more serious with the MSBA. And so I was hoping, I know we've got a couple members of the school committee here, maybe even, I think Mr. Gleason might be on the building committee. And the request was, I figured that the district will probably be getting access to some really helpful data, things like traffic studies, housing projections, population projections, things like that. And I know that each of the member towns are often using that sort of data for their own purposes. Like, we have a master planning process in place right now. I'm sure that our finance committee would like to see it too. So the proposal is that there be some way that data be shared across the member towns so that we're all kind of looking at the same stuff and we can share back and forth. But I kind of suspect that the MSBA might be able to get us some information that we're not normally coming across when we're just searching on the web. So I wanted to make a formal request that we have a data sharing agreement, and that was it.
Okay.
Brian, I think the best thing to do would be to have the school committee authorize the building committee to have a dedicated space on the school district's website and share all documents there.
Yeah, my only, the only thing that I would add is that there may be some things that they wouldn't want to have completely publicly available or maybe the MSBA wouldn't if there's proprietary information. But I would still like there to be a way for maybe the town administrators to be able to get access to that stuff if it can't be posted publicly.
Well, okay. I would just like to say a couple things about like population studies is, I think, one of the things you're looking for.
Yeah.
So when I was on the Space Needs Committee, we were authorized. We went to the school committee and said, we want to do a population study of the 3 towns to understand what's likely to happen. And the school committee gave us money to do that. We sent out a very large and ambitious bid package out and basically got no responses. We got 4 responses. There's almost nobody out there that does that for small towns. And basically what you will get, and I believe the school district gets this every year anyway, is a forecast based on live births of the school population by grade for the next 15 years or something like that, 15 or 20 years. But, maybe things have changed in the few years since we got that. But I just want to put that out there that my understanding is that the MSBA uses a very, very simple population projection. And I don't want you to be surprised or disappointed if they're still doing that. I hope what they're doing is more complicated, but again, we looked at that and we did get a population study done, but it was basically just based on live births.
Okay.
We, in Stowe, so our school building is now, I keep forgetting, 10 years old, or at least when we were doing the process. And I honestly, I can't remember now. We had 3 different numbers for population projections. One of them was definitely live births. But we did have one that had more to do with planning, and I have to go look up where it came from, but it was a regional planning kind of, basically potential build out, what would that represent in terms of people in the town? So I don't think anything is proprietary. I don't really, I was on the school building, well, the feasibility, we had 2 committees. We had a feasibility study committee and then we had a building committee. I was on both of them, but I don't believe there was any information that except for the bid process on some points, that was not publicly available. I think everything pretty much was publicly available. So I don't think you'd have to worry about if there's going to be something that only a few people can see.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for entertaining the suggestion.
Ian, I think you're next.
Yes, there was a letter that was read at the November 4th school committee meeting. And it was a letter that was generated by the teachers of the district, specifically the high school teachers, in regards to some references from the November 4th their meeting, but more importantly, from our October 14th meeting of the Tri-Town folks. And I have gotten quite a bit of feedback from parents regarding that. And unfortunately, the school committee and Kathy Codian is not here to discuss that. And one of the questions I was going to ask her is why was that even brought up as a citizen's comment when the teachers aren't citizens? And there was no further discussion of that letter at that subsequent November 4th meeting. There was one individual who wrote a letter to the newspaper, the Bolton Independent, Stowe Independent. And I want to read that letter to you because I think it sums up quite nicely what I have heard from many, many parents that I've talked to. I don't know how many parents you've spoken to in regards to what's going on in the district these days, but I speak to parents daily, and I'm getting emails from parents daily. And I was particularly offended by the letter that was generated by those teachers. But this gentleman from Stowe who wrote this letter, I think sums it up best. And I could not have done anything better. But let me please read this letter, and perhaps we might want to have some comment on that. The title of the letter is "School Committee is a Small Vocal Minority." At the start of the November 4th Neshoba Regional School District Committee meeting, Chairman Kathy Codian read aloud a letter endorsing 67 teachers and administrators who were addressing concerns about hybrid versus remote learning. They referred to those who have advocated for hybrid learning as a small vocal minority. The authors made it clear the presumed size of the group referencing small or minority. They referenced it 8 times throughout the 2-page letter, the frequency of which they repeated the terms minority in the context of validating the group's argument is uncomfortable to hear. One may debate the size of this group based on only the data we have. An early survey where roughly 75% of respondents indicated that they were in favor of some form of hybrid. One may also debate the merits of hybrid versus remote learning, but the desire for a hybrid model is far from extraordinary. Hybrid learning is being executed in many surrounding communities and at all schools within our own district except the high school. What struck me about this letter, however, is not the discussion about one model or another. In fact, the letter does very little of that. Rather, it is an emotionally driven, poorly written, repetitive reprimand full of inflammatory words like hijack, ambush, grandstanding, badger, and intimidation. All this is to describe a group of parents passionate about the cause, using the means available to them to accomplish something that they believe is in the best interest of students. What I find disturbing and off-putting is the tone of the letter. And remember, I'm reading a letter. This is not my words. It is certainly not keeping with what I am sure all parents in the community teach their children about democracy and inclusion. The discussion of how our students are presently taught is not tantamount to many bigger social society issues that have been started by vocal minorities throughout history. Nevertheless, the thesis of invalidating an argument based solely on the size of the group is not what our school district should be instilling in our kids as a matter of practice. In fact, I hope the administration and teachers in this district would not be so cavalier and dismissive to a group of students, regardless of how small they presume the group. 67 teachers and administrators also put into writing their displeasure with residents in the community for contacting government representatives and requesting that they advocate on their behalf. 67 teachers and administrators view the questioning of the school committee by selectmen at a recent Tri-Town meeting as poor governing. This is wholly undemocratic and an un-American attitude. 2 history teachers and 2 social studies teachers even added their names to this letter. How embarrassing. Someone please reteach them how government is supposed to work. The lesson I see here is to never to let a self-proclaimed majority dismiss you out of hand, no matter how minor they label you. It seems a shame that these 67 signees went to such length to publicly chide those whom they disagree. Don't be like them. Passion for your beliefs and respects for others do not have to be mutually exclusive. During such a time when we all, and especially our students, are feeling alone, isolated, and yearning for connections, it is shameful that the school committee has pitted teachers against parents. Trying to find the good in every situation, I remind myself of this. The school committee is a small but vocal minority. And it was a gentleman from Stowe who published that in the paper a week or so ago. I have also received some letters from parents who have felt, even before and after this letter, that because of this letter, they feel that any outreach that they do to try to advocate for their children will be responded to with retaliation by either the teachers, the school committee, or the district. Now, that's their opinion. I do not have a child in the school system. I haven't had one in the school system for quite a number of years. But we have a situation now where we have parents who are fearful for their children. And yes, we have extraordinary situations, but I'm trying to figure out how we can best mitigate this and move forward in a constructive path to get to some reasonableness between what the parents are looking for their children and what the district and the school committee is trying to push forward as far as an agenda. And unfortunately, we don't have the district, and we do not have the school committee here. We don't have the chairman to comment on this. So we may just leave it at this point, but I see this as a serious issue where parents are fearful for their kids.
I'm gonna work out something and nobody showed up.
Excuse me?
It's the guy from.
Hey, somebody's not muted.
What is this about shutting up?
No, it was just
No,
background noise.
someone wasn't muted.
Rosen, it
So-
looks like you need to go on mute.
I mean, I think that letter, from my own personal perspective, I think that letter was very disrespectful. I mean, I'm not going to read their letter, but they made some claims that the select boards are completely uninformed. I think we're very informed. I think it's the teachers who are not informed of what's going on here, and I think people need to realize we're the customers, we're paying the bills, and I'm appalled that we're getting to this point. The discussion on October 14th had nothing to do with the teachers. There was nothing said about the teachers. And how they transmitted that and decided to write that letter is beyond me. I just don't understand.
Jason, is this open for discussion now, or what are we doing?
Yeah,
Jay, did you have the letter from the school committee that you had referenced earlier? Do we think would now be an appropriate time to read that, since we're reading letters? Do you want to read that one out?
if people want to hear it, yeah.
Well, I think if we're going to adhere to the agenda, that we should do that at the end.
Great, we'll do that at the end then.
So I can share how I handled the situation for Lancaster. So I addressed it in the Board of Selectmen yesterday, and basically I invited all the teachers who signed the letter to the Selectmen meeting. None of them came, but basically, I reiterated that in my opinion, the greatest asset in Lancaster is the teachers, and they are why I'm here, why my family's here, and I talked about how much my kids participate in schools and how valuable it is, and that when teachers do something like that, definitely take notice. In the end, I asked, what can I do to be better to avoid a situation like this, and I didn't get any feedback. So that was how I handled it. But I do want to make a point that as part of my research to understand all of this communication, how this works. So that letter from the teachers needed to flow through the principal and the superintendent and the school committee, had to flow through all of those gates before it could be read. So that is the path. I don't want to speak for each of the divisions and how the letter got past the gate. Just wanted to make everyone aware that it did flow through those gates. Thank you.
I think that we actually should read, since Stan, the letter you just read was not on the agenda either. So I'm prepared to read the letter that the school committee wrote, since at least if some of the people who it was directed didn't read it, we can't act like they didn't tell us why they're not here. And I think particularly since there's so many people on the call that are wondering why school committee isn't here, I think we should read it now. And if it's okay with Jay, I'll read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's dated November 12th. Dear members of the select boards of Bolton, Lancaster, and Stowe. The intent of this letter is to ask that we collectively reflect on the definition, purpose, and structure of the Tri-Town meetings. The school committee will continue to participate in these meetings once there are substantive changes made. After the October meeting, there seemed to be a general agreement that future meetings would have to be conducted differently. The school committee would like to propose the creation of an ad hoc committee consisting of members from each of the three communities, select boards, and school committee members, with the goal of evaluating the current Tri-Town meeting format, establishing norms for moving forward, or considering a different approach or vehicle for supporting its intended purpose. Specific items that the school committee would like to see developed include a concrete definition of the purpose and goals of the Tri-Town meetings and topics that are appropriate for that venue, of specific meeting structure, including protocols for conduct and participation at the meeting, a specific agenda with questions or requests or for information posted in advance, given each group time to gather the information needed. Excuse me. Town administrators and select board members from each town may have additional ideas to support a robust and productive meeting. Through our combined efforts, there is an opportunity to make the Tri-Town meeting uniquely valuable in sharing the information and community building. If you would be interested in being part of such a committee, please let one of your town's school committee representatives know, and we'll be in touch to coordinate a meeting as soon as possible. If there's no interest in participating in such an endeavor, perhaps each town's select board would like to propose their own system for connecting with their school committee representatives. We see value in the three towns being able to come together with the school committee to collaborate and share information on various issues that fall under the purview of both representative government structures, such as the budget and the MSBA project. We note that there are other existing channels of communication between the town administrators and the superintendent that allow information to be shared about specific school building or district-wide issues. Any member of the public, including a select board member, is able to email school committee members or the superintendent at any time. We encourage use of these existing channels to get specific answers to information that falls within the purview of the school committee, rather than using the Tri-Town meeting to obtain this information. We look forward to your response and to a collaborative solution. Sincerely, the Neshoba Regional School Committee. So I mean, I think that there is a need to clarify particularly the purpose of the Tri-Town now. And I think there's things coming up on the agenda that don't belong on the agenda for a Tri-Town. There are school committee issues. I don't know how Stowe has anything to say about squad cars that are being used for the EMT program. That's a school district to Bolton issue, not a Tri-Town issue.
Ellen, with all due respect, that's not true, and I'll explain that shortly.
Okay. And also, I mean, I think, well, okay, I'll stop there.
At the last Tri-Town meeting, there were 65 people who participated through Zoom. That's greater than the total number of people who have attended all of the Tri-Town meetings for the prior 3 years. And I don't see how that in any way equates to a failure of how the Tri-Town meeting is set up or operated. There's over 50 people participated in tonight's meeting. And so I reject the assumptions behind this letter just because one group of people, you know, this is like when you're a kid and you go, it's my ball. If I can't pitch, I'm taking the ball and I'm going home.
Right.
And if that's the way they want to behave, I can't explain it, but that's my personal reaction to that letter.
Right. To add to Bob's point, we have had more people participating in these recent Tri-Town meetings than we have ever had before. There are 65 people participating in this, so there is a lot of interest. And to Bob's point, if one group of people don't like the way things are going, that's fine. But you know, we don't necessarily need to change the entire process because one small group of people don't like the way things are going. And I have much more comment to say on that, but I'll reserve that to when we have a Board of Selectmen meeting.
Well, one of the many problems I have with the letter that I'm sorry, Jason, you've been trying to say something. Go ahead.
I probably talked too much. So I really like the comments that were made. That was my reaction to the letter. I'd also like to put forth to the Tri-Town, you know, I believe we need to be careful of how we respond to this because I think it sets precedent. I don't like the idea of dictating terms. I don't mean that to sound harsh, but look, we all got to figure out how to work together. And I don't think we can just, when we get mad, you know, we say, you know what, I'm not playing this way. And, you know, look, I'm not saying that it was necessarily healthy last Tri-Town meeting, but I think we all got to figure out how to work together. And I think, you know, that feels like the right approach. I think dictating terms is probably not the right approach, and not necessarily just for now, but also for the future. And as a leader, you know, the school committee is showing other committees how to operate. You know, I think we need to consider that also, how we really want our towns to function. And I think we can be leaders in that space. Thank you.
So I just want, I mean, to the letter that Stan wrote, you know, one of the most annoying parts of it is it referred to the small group of school committee. Well, they're elected members, just like the boards of selectmen are. And I will point out, there's actually more elected officials on the school committee than there is, say, in the select board in Bolton. So if you're talking about who doesn't have authority, let's not go there. Let's have some respect for all the people who've put themselves out, whether it's school committees, selectmen, advisory. I mean, we all know how hard we're trying to work for our towns. So I'm most concerned about that disrespect. I understand the frustration totally. I was on, you know, I've been there. I still feel like there's a lot of not playing fairly, and I definitely have issues with that letter I just read. But you know, we gotta have more respect for each other. And I don't know what the best process is to fix this, but let's not, as someone in the chat said, just because there's 65 people on this call does not mean that we all think the same, right? I mean, people are coming on it because there's a lot of strong feeling about what's not working right now in our 3 towns. So I think, you know, it is our job as elected officials to try to figure out how we can improve this.
Well,
I even though I do get this taste, you know, the taste in my mouth from that letter was a little bit like Bob was saying, you know, like, I want to take my ball and go home, but that isn't what they're saying. We've got to come up with a better way to have a communication that's obviously not working.
Well, it's not just, it transcends communication among us. I don't think the real problem is communication among the people who are on this call right now, because the school committee and the district are not here. What the problem is I don't know who you're talking to, or whether you're talking to parents or whatnot, but I know I'm talking to a lot of parents, and it's them that are not being heard. It is those parents who are not being heard by either the school district or the school committee. We have a lot of frustrated parents, and there are arguments, you know, pro and con for remote and hybrid and this and that, but it transcends that. It transcends the method of teaching. It transcends special education. It's special needs. The parents aren't being heard. And I'm getting phone calls daily from these people. You know, we can bicker amongst ourselves of, you know, what we should do, but ultimately what we're here for are the parents and the kids. And I'm hearing from a lot of parents that their interest in their kids and getting the education that they want is not being served. And I think that's where we need to direct our attention and our action. And whether it's just because something's gone awry or whatever, but that's why I'm here. Because parents are reaching out to me, and they're concerned about their kids. They're concerned the fact that nobody's listening to them, that they're concerned about, I'm hearing about litigation, I'm hearing about cease and desist letters, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. And that's what we need to be addressing right now. It's the kids. You know, I don't care whether you like my opinion or I like your opinion. It's the kids.
Can I
It
speak?
is the children in this town. And that's what we need to be dealing with.
Megan.
So thank you so much, Jay. So I'm a parent. I have kids in the school district. And Jason, I believe that you also have children in the school district right now. Awesome. Elementary, middle, all 3 schools. Gotcha. So when you are talking, Stan, I need you to be very specific that what you are talking about is the high school, that it is not all of the schools in the Neshoba Regional School District, because I have fine communication with our school, with the elementary school that my kids are attending. If I go to them with an issue, I'm heard. So I'm a parent and I'm being heard. I also am hearing from a lot of parents who feel like this situation right now is working for them. And I understand that there are people in the chat who feel strongly in the opposite direction. And I get the frustration. I am, for example, work. I'm on the select board. I'm like teaching my kids. This is an unprecedented time for everyone, right? So I get the frustration from the parents who are frustrated about the school. I get all of that. I just don't know what we think we are going to achieve by having this conversation over and over and over and over again. And that's where I'm at. I just want to know what we want to get out of it. Is it going to be send all the kids back to school? Is that the end game? Because I don't know that we're going to get here from this conversation that we're having. And so that's where I'm at. Like, we can talk.
It's just not, no.
I'm
It
gonna
has
finish.
nothing,
I'm gonna
nothing.
finish. Hold on. I'm not done. Okay. Give me a second. We can talk until we're blue in the face about the communication issue right now, but like, we're not resolving anything here. We're not resolving sending the kids back to school in 2 weeks. Like, if that's what we think is going to come out of this Tri-Town meeting, that's not an expectation that I want to set for anyone. Like, that's not going to happen. And now
no one's talking about sending all the kids back to school. There are some parents who would prefer to have a hybrid solution at the high school. That's one thing. I'm hearing from many parents who are having issues with special education needs of their children, and that the district is not addressing that. And I'm also hearing from I'm talking to parents in your town, and I'm talking to parents in Lancaster who are reaching out to me, who are having issues. Okay, we have a situation now which is going to be addressed in a future meeting where parents spent $294,000 in legal fees to try to get their kids into special education, and the district fought that. And that's one instance, and I'm hearing many parents who are spending big money on legal fees because the district is fighting with the parents in terms of what to do with that. And you're right, we're not here tonight to discuss that, but it's not in school versus remote. The issues are much larger than this.
But I guess I think this is where the disconnect is for me, because the high school is the only school right now that is fully remote. My kids go to school 2 days a week. They're hybrid. There are kids in their special ed programs who go 5 days a week because that's what they need. I understand that there are some kids who are in special ed who are actually going into the building at the high school, which is what I thought I heard from the last meeting. So I appreciate that there are parents who are having these issues on a number of levels. I appreciate this, but I guess I'm not fully understanding what we're referring to when you're talking about special education issues.
What I'm referring to is the parents are trying to get special education done for their kids, and the district is resisting. And there's a lot of time and effort and money being spent to try to get that to happen. And I'm not going to go into details tonight. So there are many, many issues regarding all of this. It's not just hybrid versus remote.
I'd like to make one. You may be getting calls from Lancaster for parents. I have not gotten one call on the school, not one comment. I know Jason has because he has kids in school, but I have not gotten one single call.
Yeah, I've gotten, I can't even count, and I'm getting them from other towns also. I haven't gotten any negative, anything negative from a parent. So a parent, if you're listening and you think I'm spouting off lies, like send me an email, let me know. I got one email about, making sure to support the school district. So I'm paying attention to that. But Megan, I think you asked a really good question, which is what's the end game here? And I'd like to share my end game. And actually Ellen has talked about it a little bit. So how I think about this situation is, it's like a volume knob, right? Like, it's getting kind of loud, right? We're repeating ourselves. This is becoming monotonous, and it really is the same thing. What I'm hoping is that the district and the school committee is hearing. They don't have to agree with us, but we are a little bit of a megaphone for the residents. And I want to see how they react. I think the residents want to see how they react and respond to this situation. And I believe that will inform the residents on how they want things to go in the future, whether it's via voting or whether it's how they want to influence those committees. So I'm not looking to decide anything tonight. I hope everyone have seen that as I'm trying to dig, I'm trying to uncover information, I'm trying to learn, and then see what happens, and see what the end game is, with respect to, how our district, how our, highly compensated folks respond in this situation. And I think that's important. Anyway, that's how I'm thinking about it.
We through with that? You've got another one on there, Stan, about Baker?
Yes, well, I'll let Don had chimed in. I'll let him give you the details on the issue with the EMTs and the high school. Don?
Thank you, Stan. And I believe Fire Chief Legendre will be joining us at some point. I can't see if he's in the list of participants right now or not. And let me just make one thing clear. I'm not looking to resolve anything tonight. I want to make sure that the 3 towns are aware of this situation because it does impact students from all 3 towns. Specifically, we have 30 students in the current cadet EMT program. We have 15 from Bolton, 4 from Lancaster, 10 from Stowe, and actually 1 from Baldwinville, I guess a legacy choice student. So this does impact kids from all 3 towns. And in a nutshell, there is a signed memorandum of agreement between the Bolton Bolton Fire and Ambulance and the Neshoba Regional School District. And there's many areas where there's commitment by the school district to support certain things and the part of the town to support certain things. But one thing that has come up is that there is a requirement that the school district supply adult drivers for the cadet car, which is essentially the car that is parked at the high school, that if a call comes in and the cadet EMTs are to roll on a call, that's the vehicle that's used. And the way that it's been up till now, and the program's been in place for 32 years, is that there are assigned adults to drive the vehicle. Chief Legendre, are you on the call? Are you in there?
Yes, Don, I'm here.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to take over in a second, but so the point of tonight is the school district, the superintendent has said that she is no longer able to support that requirement, and which is not an issue as long as the high school is in remote or probably even hybrid mode. Although I'll let the chief speak to the nuances of hybrid, but someday we're going to be back all in the high school again. And when that happens, for sure, if we aren't able to resolve the driver issue, that program will go away. It will no longer be able to exist. And there are various alternatives that can be explored. So again, I'm not looking to solve them tonight, but I did want to let Chief Legendre speak to this a little bit better than I can, and just let you know that this is an area of concern. It should concern all 3 towns, and we are doing our best to attempt to address it. So Chief, would you like to carry on?
Sure. So we do have concern that the MOA is not signed. We are looking at alternatives. We have continued to work with the superintendent and various departments within the school district to come up with a solution. Unfortunately, that has not come to pass as of yet. We'll be reaching out to some other programs to see how they handle it. There are some other ways of running the drivers. It's, do we want to have a teenage driver driving themselves to the scene? That is one possibility in an area. Town does do that. Do we have them drive the cadet car that does carry medical supplies if they were to arrive before the ambulance, or they on-site something on a way to a call, and have them drive? We have to check in with insurance and town policies to see if that's even manageable. So it's still a very fluent process right now, but we are kind of at an impasse with the MOA and the adult drivers. So we may need to explore alternatives at this point. It's a program that does benefit all three towns. We have seen very successful students come out of the 32 years. I think it's a great program to continue at such a young age, but we just need input, and I would be more than open to anybody that has ideas that maybe I haven't thought about to bring forward in other situations. So that's about where we are. We're good with remote. We have set up safety protocols within the public safety building, and the students are here working shifts in cohort groups. There is a model if they return to hybrid that would obviously be working with the school district to divide the 30 students into 15 and 15 for cohort groups. We have added a 6th crew chief this year, so it would work out with the remote model, the hybrid model. There is concern if we go back full-time right now that we would not have the ability to get the students to the calls. So that's what we're working on, is that full return to school model.
One thing I would like to add, and the fire chief doesn't know I'm going to do this, but we're far enough apart where he won't be able to get his hands on me tonight anyway. The reason that we're able to keep the program up and running right now is because the chief took the initiative to set up learning pods in our public safety building, so that whoever is on call can be in our public safety building in a learning environment, doing their work remotely. And when a call comes in now, they roll directly from the public safety building with the ambulance crew. So we're not using the squad car, because we don't need to join them. The squad car is not rolling from the high school, is a better way to put it. So we are keeping things afloat now, but that is because of the work that the chief has done, and we will continue to do that for as long as we can. So I don't want people to think that this program could go away tomorrow. It's not, but we need to fix this now so that when things get better and we are back in full session someday, that this program continues, because I agree with the chats that I've seen on the screen. This is a tremendously important and successful program that has turned around the lives of dozens and dozens of kids over the 32 years that we've had it. And we need to do whatever we can to keep this program afloat. Thank you.
Well, now I see why you brought it up, and thank you for raising it. And thank you to the chief for making it work. My kids didn't do it, but I definitely would say this is probably the best program Neshoba has. I know kids who've changed their whole career paths based on being EMTs. So I guess my question from a finance perspective is, what is the cost? Maybe I missed, is it already cut in terms of there's no money, like their district's not putting money into it right now?
This is not a budget issue, Ellen. This has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with supplying personnel.
Well,
it has nothing to do with money.
Well, but the personnel costs money.
No, they actually don't. The drivers right now are custodians who stop what they're doing, drive the car with the cadets in it, and then return when the call is over and they go back to work. what we've been told is the union leadership no longer is comfortable with that, and we need to find another way to get things done. Well, now, from a financial perspective, one of the options that the chief has presented, which he's not received a response to, is that he would schedule personnel if there was a stipend that could be provided by the district, if that financially was to resolve things. But that's just one of a few ideas that are being tossed around, and I don't want to get hung up on that, but I don't want anyone to think that this is being brought forward because we have a money issue. Money is not driving this.
So Don, when is a decision needed by?
Well, I'm gonna let the chief answer that. I think he can speak to that better than I can.
So we would need, this is also an important year because our waiver is up, and we're in the process. We've already been in discussion with OEMS regarding the waiver, and this is a waiver that is typically renewed every 2 to 3 years, depending on the cycle. Actually, OEMS will be in our fire department tomorrow for ambulance inspection and possibly a paramedic upgrade. So I'll have further discussion with them tomorrow. Everything is delayed. We have not heard anything regarding the waiver. So it's probably going to be extended, just like most of the things from OEMS at this point. But we are ready. All the reports are in and accepted. So to give you a finite timeline as to when we need it, it would be by the expiration of the current MOA, and unknown when it's going to be reviewed again. But I would say December 31st is when we need to lock this down.
And how much would the stipend cost?
I had proposed a sub rate for the day for a driver that was vetted by the fire EMS department. Being that we take emergency vehicle operations classes, defensive driving, those classes were provided to the janitorial staff last summer. When hearing their concern, we wanted to continue that as a level. So that's why it offered out somebody from the fire department who has been qualified as a driver here. They have gone through EVOC training to go to the high school for the day on a stipend based on a substitute teacher pay.
So how much is that? Do we know?
I was trying to find that in the contract, and sorry, I did not find it prior to this meeting.
So I have a general question. I saw a lot of the things in chat, which makes me think this is really valuable. So it sounds like the scenario is someone's in the car with the student and needs to drive around for an extended period of time. Isn't the state still doing, driving lessons? So this concept, this protocol, there should be a protocol in place to support this. And I know that there's still athletic teams participating at the high school. I mean, was there anything other than the union was not comfortable with this? Was there any additional detail as to why?
I would no, there wasn't. The detail was that they did not feel comfortable if there were to be an accident. They had concern for their liability. We did address that, and we continue to work with the school district to find a resolution to this. And as far as the participation in the adult, if I can go back to where I believe your question was, so the tone goes off for an ambulance call. The 4 cadets who are assigned to that group for the day come out to the cadet car. The adult driver drives them to, say, 123 Main Street, drops the cadets off, turns around, and goes right back to the school. So we're talking about a 10-minute window here that the current staff is out of the building. They're not staying at the call. The only oddity to that is we do not want them responding to 495. So they respond to the fire station and hop directly onto the ambulance and then respond with the ambulance. But there again, the adult driver drives them to the public safety building and right back to the high school to continue their job function.
And the school supported this in the past?
Yes, that was in the memorandum of agreement. And this didn't come to light until February of 2020.
I wonder if since the school is, not continuing this service, if the school would have an appetite to pay the stipend to make this happen. That would be one option.
Yeah, that was one of the options we did throw out. There have been a couple others as far as training the staff to EMT if they so desired, voluntary participation, a stipend to the driver. So multiple things have been talked about. We just haven't met a resolution yet.
I propose that, I mean, maybe the most straightforward way to address this is to sort of make a proposal to the three towns that the three towns, I mean, we're not going to have special town meetings most likely, but to see whatever the cost is of that stipend and just go straight to the towns for it. If the timing is such that it really needs to be resolved by the end of December, I have no doubt that this is a program that has to be protected as much as possible. And it's extraordinary what the kids get out of it. So, but I don't know if that's the right next step or not.
So I agree with you, Ellen. I think it sounds like an amazing program. My concern is why they're stepping out of it at this point. Like what is the reasoning behind it? If it's not financial, is there another reason behind it? And I don't know. I mean, is it something I don't know what the solution is right now. I guess I'll give that as a caveat, but is there something else going on here? If it's not financial, like why they've decided to?
I'm not 100% sure to answer your question, and Don, and to just get this one thing out and I'll pass it right over. We did sit with, like I said, the superintendent and HR, and I did invite the union rep to the meeting to find out, because I'd like to know what the core of the problem is. If it's something we can address, let's address it. And I want to talk to the people we can. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for one reason or another. I don't know the reason. It was just the superintendent and HR, and there wasn't a definitive answer to that meeting, to that question. So I wish I could offer more, but at this point I cannot.
And just to expand on that, the superintendent, when she first raised this to me, it was probably about a year ago, when we were still having in-person meetings, the three TAs and the superintendent, pre-COVID. And it was raised as the union leadership has expressed concern, and that she was going to be, she was continuing to work it. What the chief and I separately have been told was that the union leadership had concerns, but we, speaking for myself, I never had that quantified. And I do know that the chief has spoken with cadets who have who have now graduated, who are in the program. He's asked them if they've ever heard any concerns expressed by anyone. The answer was no. He's asked the program coordinator if they've ever heard any concerns expressed. The answer was no. So we don't know what the problem is. All we know is we've been told that there's a concern and we can't get past it.
Right.
So
yeah. So that's interesting, and that would be good information to have, definitely. I wonder if, given the nature of the fact that there is an adult driving for students, if that plays into it as well, if there's a safety concern, anything with quarries. Yeah. Given the situation at the high school, I can imagine that also is some scrutiny over the last couple of years.
Sure,
so,
but it's just like I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to talk.
No, it's totally fine. I mean, we could speculate. I have no idea, but yeah, if it's not a financial thing, it would be nice to be able to get to the bottom of it, because I do feel like that's one of those things that that if, you know, if it's a program that we want to continue and can find funding for, that's one thing. But if it's a program that there are actual issues with the mechanisms of how this is happening, I would like to know that.
Well, I think it's just like any other issue. You can't fix something when you don't know what the root cause is.
Right. This has worked for the past 5 years, and all of a sudden last year it became an issue. And Don has been trying to figure out what the issue is for a year with the district management and has not been able to do that. So to Don's point, you know, we're trying to ascertain what's going on here, but the answer has been elusive for over a year now.
Right. And this was, Stan put this particular agenda item on the agenda at my request. And it's because we do know that there could be an impact fairly soon. And we've been trying to work things through. We haven't been able to, the chief and I, mainly the chief, the past several months. So I don't want to imply that I've been in there with him. He's been working this on his own the past several months. And it felt like it was certainly time to make sure that the other two select boards were aware of this, because you will hear concerns from your constituents if this doesn't get sorted out.
So I'd like to make 2 points. So Chief, I think I heard that we paid, or somebody paid money to have the custodians trained in defensive driving, and we made that investment. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes.
All right. And the second thing is, and Don, maybe correct me if I'm wrong here. So if this service was not able to be provided due to COVID, isn't this something that could be reimbursed through CARES?
Again, if there were financial implications, but that would be very short term, and any expenses past December are not covered by CARES.
Right.
We have to spend all our CARES Act money by the end of December. So
how did the schools get partnered for this? How did it start there?
it started 32 years ago when the program was formed. It's been a partnership between the school district and the towns for that long.
And we're just going to stop that, and we have not gotten a definitive answer as to why. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So Dawn, do you know, have you seen the union contract that the custodians are part of? Because I'm curious if it's referenced in there as a responsibility of that position. And if that's the case, have they already negotiated that out of a contract?
I have not seen it in a contract. I was told at one point years ago that it was in their job description, but I have never seen a job description that has it in it.
Okay.
So I think that's the best answer I can give you, Denise.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we go to number 7. Megan.
Are we skipping 6? I mean, I also feel like I've beaten my point to the ground, but I certainly am happy to speak more to it.
Well, we don't have the district here to talk about that, so there really is no point in hearing what the district had to say about that. So they're not here. So let's just skip over the 6.
Okay. So the only reason I wanted this on, not is because I feel like I've been very clear on what my feeling is as far as what our purview is, or what I feel like my purview is, but I did feel like the last Tri-Town, there were a lot of responses. Stan, you have said that you've been hearing from a lot of parents, and I don't doubt that. I wanted to give parents the opportunity to reach out to me, who felt like the program was working, right? So it's the other side of the coin. And I did receive a bunch of them, about 6 emails. And it varies. No one is saying that it is the perfect solution. I don't think anyone's saying that having their kids home full time is the perfect solution. I do think that what I've been hearing is that for the people who are pro this situation, again, it's working for their families, that they feel like there's a consistency to the learning model. They're not getting disrupted back and forth. Honestly, as a parent who has children in the hybrid model, I can actually speak to what that looks like. They're not in high school, but it's great for them to be able to be in school for sure. You cannot replicate that at home. It's very disruptive. They're learning at a slower pace, which in elementary school, I think that we can pick up. I think that they'll be okay by the time we get a little bit better. High school kids just learn, they're just different, right? And so I think that for the parents that I've been hearing from, they do feel like, the spring was not great for anyone. Everybody was trying to learn to fly the plane while that plane was being built. I do feel like the school committee and the administration, I worked hard over the summer to develop a plan. And is this plan perfect? Nope. But everybody's just sort of, I think that there are people that this is working for. And I think the concern is that if we push to go back to a hybrid model, what happens then? Like, what does that look like? Because it's not just, okay, guys, you're all going back halftime, right? And they split it, and that's how that works. There are teachers who are not going to teach in person right now. Like, there's going to be health concerns. There's going to be parents who are not sending their kids back. So those kids who were dealing in the fully remote situation, who are now, it's not going to be an easy fix to just go to hybrid. And I think it actually is going to cause more disruption. Or it is going to cause disruption, obviously. So really, I just wanted to put this on the agenda, saying that I have heard the other side of the coin. I wanted to give my constituents the opportunity to say what is working for them. And that's really all I have to say.
No, and that's fine, Megan, and certainly, some parents parents and kids prefer remote. I'm hearing from both that the remote's great, and some parents want a hybrid option. It's not an either or situation. It's being able to offer both options.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing from parents who would like both options.
Yeah, and I feel like
the parents I'm hearing from who want remote think it's got to be remote only, and people who want hybrid are, that's not the case. It's offering an option, and let's be clear. The main reason we don't have a hybrid option at the high school is that the district signed an MOA with the teachers union that there would be no hybrid option at the high school. It's not because of the school, it's not because of the HIVAC, it's not because of the age of the building. It's because the district impact bargained with the union that there would be no hybrid at the high school. That's the main reason. So, you can do all you want, but that's the reason. But there are parents who are reaching out to me and to others who have issues with the fact that their kids are isolated and stuff. So what works for one group of folks and kids may not necessarily work for another. So it's not that one group is advocating that's got to be all one or one the other. It's a choice. The choice is being offered to every other school in this district except the high school. This is also being offered to many schools and high schools outside the district. I was actually in communication with the principal of a school outside our district who has kids in Bolton and who has a godchild in high school. And he's appalled at the fact that there's no hybrid. So you can't satisfy everybody all the time, but there are folks who are advocating for a different model than some of the others that you may not agree with. And I think we need to listen to them. And we could have had that option earlier this year. We don't have it now. Conditions may be that, given what's going on with whatnot, we may not have that option. But we had that opportunity to do it early this year, and we didn't do it. Hindsight's 20/20 vision. So I mean, there are pros and cons on both sides.
So I'd like to say that I personally want to get out of the email business, and hearing from people back channel. Is it a back channel? It's a healthy escalation, but it's an escalation. And the approach that I'm going to take, and I would encourage everyone on Tri-Town to take the same approach, is to work with the school committee and the school district to get better at polling. I believe, I don't want to rehash number one on the agenda, but the better we are at polling, the better we have to stop receiving emails, because we know exactly how the parents feel. And if we can poll every 2 weeks and get information, we can trend on how things are going and make informed decisions. And it's not going to be, 95% happy and 5%, but we can actually see the data, and teachers will feel like they're being heard because they will see their vote, and then they will see a bunch of other votes. And that's real information. And then we can get out of the business of, well, I have, because I've gotten 15 emails. Like, is that good? Is that a lot? I don't know, but let's get out of that business is my vote. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jason. I think it is important for us to, know that, or for our constituents to know that they can reach out to us if they need to. But I do feel like a lot of these big decisions just fall on the school committee, and they fall on the administration, and we have to let them do that. While I do understand, so that union negotiation that's the first time I've heard that at all. So I had no idea that was a situation. But I have lost my train of thought. Sorry. Go back. That's really all I have. I think it's a nice bookend to the start of the meeting, and it's just, I think we've come out of this with some action items, right, Jason? A couple.
Yeah, Stan, is that documented? Is that, you said it was an MOA? Is that documented anywhere? The negotiation? Is there an artifact on that? Something that
There's an MOA that's dated, I believe it's September 3rd. Don, you can.
Don, if you have that, can you send that out to Orlando and we can have that sent to, well, maybe to all the selectmen if that's what they.
I believe I have it. If I don't have it in my email, I think I have it in my email. If I don't, I can get my hands on it, and I'll send it to my 2 colleagues who will in turn share it with their boards.
Thank you.
That's all we have. Hopefully we can get some of this information for our next meeting, so we know what we're talking about a little more deeply.
Sounds good. All right.
Yes. And speaking of the next meeting, which we should have sometime next month, will be hosted by the town of Bolton. So we need to figure out a date. Whether or not the school committee and the district choose to participate or not, I think it's still important that we have this meeting.
Well, we're going to need to know what the school committee meeting schedule is. I do not have that at my fingertips.
No.
So I can.
And our individual select board meetings as well.
Yeah.
So I want to make a quick comment on that, something that we did in Lancaster. So by law, the school committee is required to send to the town administrators all of their schedule with the 48 hours open meeting. But what happened is that they posted to the website and they informed the town clerk, but there's no real notification to anybody. And what that means is, as a parent or as a selectman, if I want to attend a school committee meeting, I got to keep hitting refresh every day or I might miss it. So we worked with the town administrator and our town clerk, and we send out now those school committee meetings. You can subscribe to them and receive them just as you would like a FinCom and a planning board meeting. So as a parent and as a selectman, it's really worked for me. So if you guys are having a hard time understanding when school committee meetings are working, I think that's a positive addition we've made in Lancaster.
I guess I'll give kudos to our administrative assistant. We get them very timely. As soon as she gets them, she sends them out to us. And I haven't, it's never coming after the school committee meetings. I mean, this last, for tomorrow's meeting, we had the agenda, at least 48 hours posted. So I think, we need to take some personal responsibility about, getting, if that's the way the towns work, if that works for you, that's great. But, the school committee can't be, doing specific mailings just because you don't read your email. So
Ellen, you make, just so you know, I just checked the webpage. The school committee meets on December 2nd and December 16th. Traditionally, these meetings have been held on Wednesdays to avoid the select board meetings where Lancaster's Monday, Stowe's Tuesday, and Bolton is Thursday. So looking at the calendar, December 9th would appear to be an open date for the school committee if they'd like to attend the December meeting.
It's the first and third Wednesday of every month.
Correct. And the 9th is the second Wednesday of the month.
Why don't we do the date you suggest, Don?
If you have trouble remembering, just remember the first and third Wednesday of the month.
I'm all for December 9th, 7 p.m.
Works.
And Don, locking in that date now, just everybody sort of is just kind of on notice when we're looking for agenda items. You kind of have a date to work around.
Yep.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, and we will get a reminder out to everyone a couple of weeks in advance.
Yep.
Very good.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Good.
Everybody happy we go?
Absolutely.
Meeting's
Please,
over.
let's go.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Night.
you.
All right.